Welcome to Senate Spotlight, a show that takes a closer look at the work of the Hawaii State Senate. Today, our focus is the Agriculture Committee, and today we are joined by the committee chair, Senator Clarence Nishihara, and vice chair, Senator Kahele. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Now let's begin discussing what's top of mind for many of us, which is the economy. And now that our state's been dealt with another blow with the devastation in Japan, which is causing thousands of our Japanese visitors to cancel their trip here, what can your committee do to address our economic issues?
I believe that if we make agriculture an important to the state, and with less reliance on tourism, it would be beneficial to the whole state in a situation like what has recently happened.
You know, the devastation that occurred in Japan truly was monumental. Probably nothing we've ever seen for probably several hundred years. It's kind of hard to recover from, for those countries to recover from that, but they will. And locally, you know, on Gills Island, they had the tsunami hit and devastated parts of his island. But I think it'll take the effort of not just agriculture to come to the rescue. I think the tourism area is still fairly strong. We lost a significant market when Japan was affected by it. And certainly we all, our hearts go out to the Japanese for that, their major tragedy that happened. But, you know, they're looking at agriculture as a major supporter for our state. Surely I think we all realize that our food supply, and I'm sure they've been told that we have between 3 and 6 days of food if the ships quit coming, bringing it in by container. You can see what would happen if our docks were damaged and we couldn't get the mats and containers to come in. We would basically have to deal with the shortage of food in a fairly short time. Whatever we had would be affected. Now, the idea of food security, which has been mentioned a lot in the news, has to do with having food grown in the islands that provide the security line that we require instead of depending it on getting it from outside of Hawaii. Right, Gil?
That's correct, yeah.
And I think maybe Gil, whose island is the big island, and there's a lot of food grown there, maybe could address some of those things.
Yeah, well, you know, sustainability is very important with our food source. And as you well know, and we've talked about it, about 85% of the food that's consumed in Hawaii is imported. So we need to, you know, strive to move in that direction where we can sustain the food source. And in cases like the Chairman Nishihara has mentioned, about devastation that can occur like that has recently occurred. So agriculture should be important in the minds of us that here at the legislature and also among the population, that something that can happen, you know, and so we're not left at peril. So agriculture a greater emphasis should be put on growing our own food and having our food security. Yep.
How about diversifying our economy and to make agriculture once again a viable industry?
You know, when you look at the lands that surround the urbanized area, and on Maui and all the other neighbor islands as well, people remember, I don't know if you do, but they were growing a lot of pineapple and sugarcane. And that was the largest part of our agricultural products that were, you know, brought to market. But at the same time, there were a lot of smaller farms all around the area. And having lived and grown up on Maui, you know, the areas like upcountry, Kula, which is really a very rich soil, and people have heard about, kula onions and all of those kinds of products. Those areas have, over time, have been taken over by, I guess we call gentleman farms, right?
That's right.
I think it's happened in the Big Island as well, where, these farm areas, because you couldn't get families to continue to operate the farms, they were cut up and sold off as farm lots, right?
Right. Well, on the Big Island, after I think it was C. Brewer, that the sugar lands and owned a lot of the sugar lands, when they went out of business, a lot of those lands were purchased by developers, and as Clarence mentioned, cut up into smaller parcels or sold off, and gentleman type farms have sprung up. So there is a need to retain these or better lands that were set aside or for growing crops, so to speak. I see it on Oahu happening on these islands, and that's a concern of farmers that have brought it to our attention, that the urbanization of these A-type lands here, pineapple lands, especially on the middle part of this particular island, and the need to satisfy the urban sprawl, if you will, to take these lands, these important ag lands, out of ag production, and to satisfy the need for housing. So we need to make better decisions. I would say regarding that question. Yeah.
So sustainability of agriculture is something that the legislature is looking
Right, and
at.
that's what Vice Chair and I are working on with other members in the Senate, as well as some of the House members as well. They're working on those similar bills. We're all aware of the need to preserve what's remaining of agricultural lands. If you look back maybe in the early 60s, 50 years ago, maybe close to 90% of the food that was grown and eaten in Hawaii were raised here. It wasn't brought in from the outside, but now, as Gil says, it's been turned around where only maybe 15% now are actually raised here. And that's a significant difference and drop in a course of maybe half a decade, and recent decade actually. When you have food that are not being grown here, that means we are bringing it from the outside. We're dependent on transportation system with its transportation costs, high energy costs. As an example, the rising price of barrels of oil. At one point, last I heard, was maybe $105 per barrel of oil, and that translates to higher energy costs in bringing these things into the islands. It's not sustainable over time if we cannot protect ourselves enough by growing a significant amount of crop that we can have access to, and that goes for the beef industry as well, right? And I think you can talk about that as well.
Yeah, a lot of the food. I think there needs to be an emphasis with the general public to buy local. We produce the best beef here on a Big Island. That goes to the mainland and then back here because of the lack of slaughterhouses and so forth. Like Clarence mentioned about the dairy farmers. I mean, now that we were probably down to only one dairy, and but the public needs to be made aware of the emphasis. And I think once they know and they start buying local, fresh food. I mean, if you go to Saturday mornings, or Sunday mornings, go to the farmers markets. There's a lot of people there. There's a trend to buy local, or there's an awareness to eat healthy, and for food security. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The restaurants, including like Zippy's, is a good example, not to name a particular restaurant, but the restaurants in Waikiki and on the neighbor islands will willingly and make every effort to buy local products, vegetables and these things, to bring it to market and to put it on a plate, because they know that people enjoy these things, they want these things. There's a real value to that. But the farmers also have to be concerned about what we call food security, which means that they have to be certified, and those issues come up as well. Yeah.
That's right.